Tom's phone buzzed again, another call, the name flashing across the screen like a bad echo that wouldn't die. John, then Max, then John again. Tom exhaled sharply, gripping the phone tighter but not answering. Across the room, Jeffrey shifted slightly in his power chair, watching him. "Dad, just call the cops. They're breaking the restraining order, again." Tom shook his head. "Jeffy, they already got arrested once, you remember that. They're not accepting it. They still think you're not serious, that you won't follow through." Jeffrey's jaw tightened. "I am serious, I don't want to live like this forever, looking over my shoulder every time your phone rings." Another buzz, Max, this time. Tom silenced it. Jeffrey looked down at his hands. "Dad, I gotta live my life. I can't keep hiding behind court orders and police calls. At some point I move forward." Tom stepped closer, crouching slightly so he was eye level with him. His voice softened, but there was steel underneath it. "You told us to do this for you," Tom said. "You asked for protection, you needed space, that's what this is." Jeffrey shook his head. "Yeah, but not like this, not forever." "It's not forever," Tom replied. "It's until they stop, and right now they haven't stopped." Silence hung between them. The phone buzzed again, longer this time, insistent. Tom didn't even look at it. "This part," he added quietly, "this isn't on you, Jeffy, you didn't cause this, you're just trying to be safe." Jeffrey swallowed, eyes still fixed downward. "It just feels like I did." Tom reached out, resting a hand gently on his shoulder. "You didn't," he said firmly. "They made their choices, we're just making sure you get to keep yours." Josh leaned against the doorway, trying to keep things light. "Jeffrey, come on, let's go for a walk, clear your head a little, get away from all this Sam mess." Tom nodded, backing him up. "Your brother's right." Jeffrey looked up at him, hesitation written all over his face. "Dad." Tom stepped closer, his tone steady but reassuring. "Go with your brother, you don't need to carry all of this right now." Jeffrey frowned slightly. "But what about Sam, what if he—" "Your mom and I have it handled," Tom cut in gently but firmly. "Sam and his family, the calls, all of it, that's on us." Josh gave a small grin, trying to pull him out of the spiral. "Yeah, and I'm way more fun company anyway, no offense, Dad." Tom let out a quiet breath, almost a half-smile. "None taken, go on." Jeffrey lingered for a second, then finally nodded. "Okay." Josh moved behind him, hands settling on the handles of the power chair. "That's what I'm talking about, fresh air, no phones, no drama." As they started toward the door, Jeffrey glanced back once more. "Dad, you sure?" Tom met his eyes without hesitation. "I'm sure, go live your life for a minute, Jeffy, we've got the rest." Jeffrey held that look for a beat, then turned forward. And for the first time all day, he let himself roll away from it. Dea stood near the kitchen counter, her voice low but heavy with concern. "When are we going to tell them that we're moving?" Tom rubbed his face, exhausted, thinking it through. "I don't know, Dea," he admitted, "but right now it's the best way to keep Jeffrey from getting overwhelmed." She crossed her arms slightly. "He's already overwhelmed, Tom, you saw him." "I know," Tom said quietly. "That's exactly why we have to be careful with how we tell him. If we drop everything at once, Sam, the calls, and then this, it could be too much." Dea softened a little, but the worry didn't leave her face. "So what, we wait, pretend everything's normal?" Tom shook his head. "No, not pretend, just pace it. Let him have a moment to breathe first. That walk with Josh, he needs that more than another bombshell right now." She sighed, glancing toward the door Jeffrey had just gone through. "He's going to feel like we're making decisions without him." Tom nodded. "Then we make sure he knows we're doing it for him, not around him." A quiet pause settled between them. "When we tell him," Tom added, "we do it together. Calm, no pressure, and we make it clear this move isn't running away, it's giving him a real chance to live without all this constantly chasing him." Dea looked back at Tom, searching his face. "You really think this will help?" Tom didn't answer right away. "I think," he said finally, "it gives him a fighting chance at peace." The door opened a little too fast. Josh pushed Jeffrey inside, both of them slightly out of breath. "Mom, Dad," Jeffrey started, his voice tight. "I know I don't pay bills or anything, but a van was following us. Me and Josh, we think we need to move, not just for me, for everybody, even Linda." Tom and Dea exchanged a quick, stunned look. Tom stepped forward slowly. We were just talking about. Dea cut in sharply, her voice rising. Wait, someone was following you. Josh nodded, still catching his breath. Yeah, we noticed it a few blocks back. Same van, slowed when we slowed, turned when we turned. Jeffrey added quietly, we tried not to panic, took a couple different turns and then we lost them. Dea's hand went to her chest. Oh my God. Tom's expression hardened instantly, all hesitation gone. Did you see who was inside? Josh shook his head. Windows were tinted, couldn't make out anything. Silence hit the room, but it wasn't the same silence as before. This one was heavier, sharper. Jeffrey looked at his dad again. This is what I meant earlier. I can't live like this. None of us can. Tom nodded slowly, jaw tight. You're right. Dea looked between them. Tom. He turned to her, decision already made. We don't wait anymore. Then back to Jeffrey and Josh. We start making calls tonight, security, lawyer, whatever we need. And yeah, he exhaled, steady but firm, we move, not eventually, soon. Josh let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. Good. Dea stepped closer to Jeffrey, resting a hand on his shoulder. You too did the right thing coming straight home. Jeffrey nodded, but his voice was still heavy. I just don't want this following us wherever we go. Tom met his eyes. Then we make sure it doesn't, he said. Jeffrey's voice cracked a little. Why am I always having bad luck lately, and now it's messing with my family too? The room went quiet again, but softer this time. Tom didn't answer right away. He walked over, steady and calm, and crouched in front of him. Jeffy, he said, this isn't luck. Jeffrey looked up confused. Then what is it? It's other people making bad choices, Tom replied. You didn't ask for this, you didn't cause it, and it's not following you because of who you are, it's happening because they won't let go. Dea stepped in beside them, her voice gentler. And look at what you did do, you spoke up, you set boundaries, you protected yourself. Jeffrey shook his head. Yeah, but now everyone else has to deal with it too. Josh leaned against the wall, arms crossed but voice steady. We're dealing with it because we choose to, not because you dragged us into anything. Tom nodded. Exactly, this is what family does, we step in when it matters. Jeffrey's hands tightened slightly in his lap. It just feels like everything keeps stacking up. Tom didn't dismiss that. Yeah, it does, and I'm not gonna pretend it doesn't suck right now. A small pause. But this part, Tom added, this is where it turns, we're making moves, we're taking control back, that's not bad luck, that's you fighting through it. Dea squeezed Jeffrey's shoulder. You're not alone in this, not for a second. Josh gave a small half-smile. And hey, next time a van tries that, we'll lose them faster. That got the tiniest hint of a reaction from Jeffrey. Not a full smile, but something close. And for now, that was enough. Tom opened the door halfway, his body already tense from everything that had been happening. What do you want? He asked sharply. A man stood on the porch holding something in his hands. He looked a little out of breath, like he'd been jogging. Your kid's bag fell off his chair, the man said quickly. I tried to catch up to give it back, but they ran off before I could, so I just brought it here. Tom paused. His expression shifted instantly from suspicion to concern. Wait, what? Tom said. Jeffrey. Before the man could answer further, Tom reached out and took the bag, scanning it for a second like he was making sure everything matched. Inside, everything looked normal, but the timing hit him hard. He turned back toward the living room, voice raising slightly. Jeffrey. Dare and Josh both looked up immediately. Jeffrey rolled forward a bit, confused. What? Tom held up the bag. This guy says it fell off your chair. Jeffrey blinked. Oh yeah, I didn't even notice it was gone. Josh frowned. When did that happen? Jeffrey thought for a second. When we were walking before we got back, I guess it must have slipped off during the turn. Tom looked back at the man at the door, his tone softened. I appreciate you bringing it back, seriously. The man nodded. No problem, just didn't want to leave it sitting out there. Tom gave a short nod. Yeah, thanks. The man turned and left. Tom shut the door, locking it this time. For a moment nobody spoke. Then Dea exhaled slowly. We really need to be more careful right now. Tom nodded once. Yeah, we do. Jeffrey looked at the bag in his dad's hands, then back up. So, it just fell off, that's it. Tom handed it back to him, that's it. But the tension in the room didn't fully leave, because even small things still felt too loud right now. Tom let out a breath as he checked the bag once more, then handed it back to Jeffrey. Jeffrey, lucky he gave it back. All your stuff is in here that you need in case you're out. Jeffrey took it slowly, still a little unsettled. Yeah. Josh leaned against the doorway, watching both of them. Tom straightened up, his tone shifting more firm now, like he was trying to regain control of the moment. Can we stop moving around for a minute? Jeffrey looked up, can we still move like for real? Tom hesitated just for a second, then he shook his head. Not right now, both of you go to your rooms. Josh frowned, dead seriously. Tom didn't raise his voice, but it carried weight. Now. A beat of silence. Jeffrey tightened his grip on the bag, then nodded once. Okay. Josh pushed off the wall, muttering under his breath, but didn't argue further. All right. Jeffrey rolled slowly toward his room, Josh following behind at a slower pace. Tom stayed where he was for a moment after they left, staring at the closed hallway. Dea stepped closer. You think shutting it down like that is going to help? Tom rubbed his forehead. I think they're both overwhelmed, and I think if we keep throwing decisions on top of panic, nothing good comes from it. Dea nodded slowly, but her eyes stayed worried. Then we pick a time, a real one, and we talk to them properly. Tom exhaled. Yeah, we do it right, not like this. Tom stood in the hallway a moment longer, then exhaled sharply. Jeffrey is 27, he said, voice tight, but he's acting like Josh like he's 14. Dea didn't like the way that landed. She turned toward him immediately. I don't think he's acting. Tom frowned. Dea. She cut in, calmer but firm. He's overwhelmed. There's a difference. He's dealing with stress, fear, people following him, all of this legal stuff. Anyone would feel scattered. Tom ran a hand over his face. I hear you, I do, but he still needs responsibilities. He can't shut down every time things get hard. Dea nodded slightly, acknowledging the point. Yes, he needs structure, boundaries, support too. Tom looked back down the hall where the doors were closed, his voice softened a bit. I'm not trying to punish him, I'm trying to keep things from falling apart. Dea stepped closer. Then don't treat him like he's failing you, treat him like he's overwhelmed and still learning how to handle it. A pause settled between them. Tom finally nodded once. Okay, but we still need a plan, not just reactions. Dea agreed quietly. Agreed, but that plan has to include him, not just be about him. Tom didn't argue this time. He just looked down the hall again, less frustrated now, more concerned. Then tomorrow, he said, we sit down, all of us, and we do it properly. Dea nodded. Tomorrow. Dea's expression tightened as she turned fully toward Tom. Are you saying our disabled son with memory issues is entitled? She asked, careful but clearly hurt by the direction of his thinking. Tom didn't answer immediately. His frustration showed in his face before he spoke. Yes, he said bluntly. He is, at least in the way he's handling this. He doesn't have context right now. He thinks everyone is out to get him. Dea shook her head slightly. Tom. He kept going, voice sharper now. I never called the cops on Sam because not everything needs to escalate immediately, but no one can live like this forever. He needs to grow up. That landed heavily in the room. Dea took a slow breath, trying to steady herself before responding. Needing help isn't the same as being entitled. Tom looked at her, and avoiding every responsibility because you're scared isn't healthy either. There was a long pause. Dea's voice softened, but it didn't lose its edge. He's not avoiding life, he's overwhelmed. There's a difference between pushing someone and breaking them. Tom rubbed his forehead, conflicted now. So what, you think we just keep protecting him from everything? I think, Dea said, we teach him how to handle it without making him feel like he's a burden for struggling. That quieted the room. Tom looked down the hallway again, his frustration fading into something more complicated. I don't want to fail him, he said finally. Dea nodded. Then don't lead with anger, lead with understanding and structure. Tom didn't respond right away. But this time he didn't push back either. Tom exhaled, the tension still sitting in his shoulders. I never said he's a burden, he said, more controlled now. I'm saying you and I won't be here forever. Dea's expression shifted immediately. less defensive, more attentive. Tom continued, quieter, "At some point, we're gone, and Jeffrey has to be able to handle his life without everything falling apart around him." Dea nodded slowly, understanding the concern behind his words now. "I get what you're saying, but how we get him there matters." Tom looked at her. "I'm trying to prepare him." "And I'm saying preparation isn't pressure," she replied gently. "It's building stability while we're still here." A pause settled between them. Tom glanced toward the hallway again. "He's 27, Dea, but he's not operating like he's steady right now. Something's off, stress, fear, everything going on with Sam, the move, the calls." Dea stepped closer. "Then we address all of that, not just him. The situation is bigger than one reaction." Tom's voice softened a little. "So what do we do?" Dea answered without hesitation. "We slow it down, we talk to him like an adult, not a problem to fix, and we put support around him instead of pressure on top of him." Tom was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded once. "Okay, but we don't ignore reality either." "We won't," Dea said, "we just don't let fear lead." From down the hall, the house stayed quiet, Jeffrey and Josh still in their rooms, unaware of the shift happening just outside their doors. Tom's voice dropped, heavier now. "When Sam said in court to Jeffrey, 'What if your family passes away?' he paused, jaw tightening. That stuck with me." Dea turned fully toward him. "Tom, you've been sitting on this for 2 weeks. Why didn't you talk to me?" Tom looked down, conflicted. "He just got up from the coma. A month later we sent him to camp. When was I supposed to tell you or him that Sam might be right?" Dea's face softened, but her voice stayed steady. "Tom." He shook his head, cutting himself off before it spiraled further. "I'm a bad father to him." "No," Dea said immediately. Tom let out a humorless breath. "Dea, I keep trying to fix things and it feels like I'm just making it worse. He's scared, he's overwhelmed, and I'm here thinking about worst-case scenarios instead of helping him feel safe." Dea stepped closer. "You're not a bad father, you're a father under pressure who's trying to carry too much alone." Tom didn't answer right away. She continued, softer now. "That comment Sam made, it wasn't a prediction, it was manipulation in a courtroom. It got in your head and now you're letting it rewrite how you see yourself and how you see Jeffrey." Tom finally looked at her. "But what if I'm not doing enough?" Dea shook her head. "Then we do more together. You don't decide you failed and disappear into that." A long silence settled between them. Tom's shoulders eased slightly, but his expression was still weighed down. "I just don't want him living in fear his whole life." Dea nodded. "Then we don't lead with fear, we lead with stability, even when everything else feels unstable." Tom didn't respond immediately. But this time he stayed in the room, present instead of pulling away. The next day, the mood in the house was already tense before anyone even spoke. Tom stood in the living room with Dea beside him. Jeffrey was in his power chair near the hallway, arms tight, jaw already set like he knew something was coming. Josh hovered a few steps behind him. Tom spoke first. "Camp Toby," he said. "Jeffrey, the restraining order is gone now, so you're going back." For a second, it didn't even land. Jeffrey blinked. "Mom, Dad, you're joking, right?" Dea stepped in quickly, trying to steady it. "Jeffrey, your seizures have been under control. You've shown you can handle more independence now." Jeffrey's eyes widened slightly. "So that's it, that's the decision." Tom's voice stayed firm. "Yes." Jeffrey shook his head, disbelief turning into frustration. Can I just stay at the group home? I was fine there." Tom didn't soften. "No." The word hit harder than anything else. Jeffrey's voice rose. "This isn't fair." Dea looked at him more gently this time. "We're not trying to punish you, we're trying to move you forward." Jeffrey's hands tightened on the armrests. "Moving me forward or pushing me out?" Tom stepped closer, his tone sharp now, emotion spilling through. "It's time to grow up." That line hung in the air. Jeffrey froze for a moment, like he was trying to process it without breaking. Then quietly, "So that's what this is." Josh shifted uncomfortably behind him. "Dad, maybe." Tom didn't look away. "No, maybe, he needs structure, responsibility. He can't keep falling back every time things feel hard." Dea's voice softened, but she didn't contradict him. "Jeffrey, this isn't about leaving you, it's about what comes next for you." Jeffrey looked between them, hurt and confusion mixing together. I thought I was already trying. Tom's expression flickered for a moment like he heard that, but he held his ground. I know you are, he said more quietly, but it's not enough to stay stuck. The room went still. And for the first time in the conversation, no one rushed in to fill the silence. Josh spoke up quickly, still processing what he'd heard. We are still moving though, right? Tom shook his head immediately. No, both of you stop living in your heads. Jeffrey's face tightened. So what is this then? Tom turned toward him, voice firm. Jeffrey, you're going back to Camp Toby to take responsibility and say sorry to Sam and his team. Jeffrey stared at him. Say sorry for what? Tom didn't soften it. For how things were handled, for what happened, you need to face it. Josh frowned. And me? Tom answered without hesitation. You don't have anything lined up for the summer, so you're going to work with Grandma Pat. Josh blinked. Work like actual work? Yes, Tom said. Jeffrey shook his head, frustration rising again. This isn't fair. Dea stepped in, trying to keep things organized, but her tone was final. It's not about fair right now, it's about structure. Linda, you're taking dance class. From the side, Linda crossed her arms immediately. I don't like to dance. Tom cut in before it could go further. Guys, you will do them anyway. That landed hard. Josh looked between his parents, so nobody gets a choice. Tom exhaled, voice steady but blunt. You're getting direction, not chaos. Dea nodded slightly beside him. We're not doing this to control you, we're doing it because everything has been spiraling. Jeffrey looked down, quieter now but still tense. It just feels like everything got decided without us. For a moment Tom didn't respond right away. Then he said, more controlled than before, because right now, decisions have to be made by the adults in the room. The air went still again, heavier this time but calmer than before, like the argument had reached its edge. Dea's voice stayed calm, but it carried a clear finality. If one of you pays a bill, she said, then you can talk about getting a stay, but until then, you do what we say. The room went quiet for a beat. Josh frowned. That doesn't even make sense. Jeffrey looked up sharply. So this is about money now. Tom stepped in before it escalated further. It's about responsibility, stability, not just money. Jeffrey shook his head. I don't have a job, you know that. Dea nodded once. Then that's part of what you need to work toward. Josh looked between them, frustrated. So we just get orders and that's it. Tom's tone stayed firm but less sharp than before. Right now, yes, because things have been unstable, we're putting structure in place first. Jeffrey's voice lowered. It still feels like we don't get a say in our own lives. Dea softened slightly but didn't back down. You will, but not when everything is already falling apart. First we stabilize, then we negotiate. Tom crossed his arms. This isn't punishment, it's a reset. A heavy silence followed. Josh exhaled. Feels more like control than a reset. Tom met his eyes. It feels like that because you don't like it, not because it isn't necessary. Jeffrey looked down again, quieter now, the frustration turning inward. So we just accept it, he said. Dea answered gently, for now you cooperate, then we move forward from there. No one spoke after that. The decisions had been made whether they liked them or not, and the room carried that weight. Tom's frustration spilled over as he tried to lay everything out plainly. Jeffrey, you're disabled, you can't work. Josh, you're 14 and talking about a car when you're 16. Linda, you're 4, I don't even need to say anything more. He shook his head. You all need a reality check, that's what will work here. Jeffrey's face tightened immediately. Mom. Dea stepped in quickly, her tone sharp enough to cut through the tension. You heard your father. That stopped the room for a moment. Josh looked down, jaw clenched, clearly unhappy but not speaking. Linda stayed quiet, sensing the shift even if she didn't fully understand it. Jeffrey's voice came out lower now, more controlled but hurt underneath it. So this is the reality check at telling us what we can't do. Dea softened slightly but didn't walk it back. It's telling you where we are right now, not where you'll always be. Tom exhaled, some of the edge leaving his voice. I'm not trying to insult any of you, I'm trying to stop the chaos. Right now, everyone's talking like nothing has limits. Jeffrey looked at him. It just feels like we only hear about limits. A silence settled again, less explosive this time but heavier in a different way. Dea glanced between them, then spoke more gently. Limits aren't the end of your life, they're the starting point for figuring out what actually works. Tom nodded once, calmer now, and we figure it out together, but it has to be grounded in reality. No one argued right away. But nobody felt settled either. Jeffrey looked up, a little more focused now. So if you guys can get me a laptop so I can work. Tom nodded quickly, sure, we can do that. Then he added more firmly, but you're still going to Camp Toby. Jeffrey's expression tightened again, I still hate Sam. The room went quiet for a beat. Tom didn't argue with the feeling this time, he just exhaled and nodded slightly. Me too, Jeffrey, me too. Dea glanced at Tom, surprised by his honesty but didn't interrupt. Jeffrey looked down at his hands, then why do I have to go? Tom's voice softened a little. Because going there isn't about liking Sam, it's about finishing what got started and taking responsibility for your part in it so it doesn't keep hanging over you. Dea added gently, and so you can move forward without this following you everywhere. Josh, quieter now, leaned against the wall. And you do get the laptop thing, that part actually sounds kind of good. Jeffrey gave a small, tired look in his direction, not quite a smile but less tension. Tom nodded once. We're not trying to take your life away from you, Jeffy, we're trying to get it stable enough that you can actually build something with it. A pause settled over them. It didn't fix everything, but for the first time in the conversation, the direction wasn't just punishment or control. It was starting to look like a plan. Tom rubbed his face, the exhaustion finally slipping into his voice. I hate my job, he said bluntly, but we still need to eat. Me and your mom don't like paying bills either, but we've got to. He looked at all of them, Jeffrey, Josh, even toward where Linda was nearby. You guys get it now. Jeffrey stayed quiet for a moment, then nodded slowly. Yeah, I think I get it. Josh kicked lightly at the floor, it's just a lot. Dea stepped in, softer now. It is a lot, but that's why we're putting structure in place, not to punish you, to keep everything from falling apart. Tom's tone eased a bit. Being an adult isn't about liking it, it's about doing what has to be done anyway. Jeffrey looked down, processing it. So Camp Toby, laptop, work stuff, it's all supposed to help me get there. Tom nodded, exactly. A pause. Then Josh muttered, still doesn't mean I have to like it. Dea almost smiled, you don't. Tom gave a small exhale, the tension finally lowering a notch. Good, because nobody likes it, we just do it anyway. The next day, Tom and Jeffrey arrived at Camp Toby together. The place looked the same, but it didn't feel the same to Jeffrey, not after everything. Sam was already there when they walked in. His eyes landed on Jeffrey immediately. Why are you here? Sam asked flatly. Jeffrey started to answer but hesitated. Sam cut him off before he could finish. I don't have time for apologies. Max is your buddy and he's waiting for you at cabin 2A. For a second, Jeffrey just stood there processing it. Tom stepped slightly forward, watching Sam carefully but didn't interrupt. Jeffrey finally spoke, quieter this time. I'm not here to cause problems. Sam didn't respond to that, he just turned slightly, already disengaging. Cabin 2A. Jeffrey glanced at Tom. Tom gave a small nod, steady, encouraging without saying much. Go, Tom said gently, one step at a time. Jeffrey exhaled and started down the path toward the cabins, wheels rolling slowly over the gravel. As he moved away, the weight of everything still followed him, but this time he didn't turn back. He kept going toward cabin 2A. Sam turned his chair slightly to face Tom once Jeffrey was out of earshot. Tom, he said flatly, the only reason he's back is because of the deal we made with you and Pat, that's it. Tom didn't argue, we know, and we didn't tell Jeffy that. He thinks this is about him coming back on his own terms. A brief pause. Tom's expression hardened, we don't forgive you, this isn't that, this is business. Sam gave a short, humorless nod from his power chair, same here. The air between them was cold. No pretending, no rebuilding, just an agreement neither of them trusted. Tom crossed his arms, then we're clear, he finishes this, no games, no pressure beyond what's agreed. Sam's eyes narrowed slightly, he'll be treated the same as everyone else, nothing more, nothing less. Tom held his gaze, good, because if anything feels off, I pull him out. Sam didn't flinch, and if he walks out early, the deal's done. Another pause. Two men, both standing their ground in completely different ways. Tom finally nodded once, then let's just get through it. Sam turned his chair back toward the cabins. That's the plan. Neither of them meant anything more than that. Tom caught up to Jeffrey along the path, keeping his tone light, but there was still urgency underneath. Jeffrey, let's get to your bunk, he said. We can't keep Max waiting now, can we? Jeffrey didn't answer right away. His hands rested on the wheels, but he didn't move. I don't like this, he admitted quietly. Tom didn't dismiss it this time. I know you don't. Jeffrey looked ahead toward the cabins. You and Sam, something feels off. Tom paused for a split second, but not long enough to raise alarm. It's just tension, that's all. You focus on your part, not ours. Jeffrey wasn't fully convinced, but he didn't push it. Okay. Tom gave a small nod. One step at a time, remember. Jeffrey exhaled, then finally started moving again, wheels crunching over the gravel as they got closer to cabin 2A. As they reached the door, Tom rested a hand briefly on the side of the chair. You got this, he said. Jeffrey glanced back at him. You're not staying. Tom shook his head gently. This part's yours. A beat. Jeffrey nodded slowly, then turned forward and pushed the door open. Inside, Max was already there, waiting. Max looked up as the door opened. Welcome back. Jeffrey rolled in slowly, not meeting his eyes at first. Yeah, I'll work, he muttered. I just don't want to be here. Tom stepped just inside the doorway, keeping his voice steady. You don't have to want it, you just have to do it. Jeffrey looked back at him, frustration still there. That doesn't make it easier. No, Tom admitted, but it makes it worth something. A short silence. Then Tom added firmer, you're a Smith, Smiths don't quit. Jeffrey exhaled, not fully agreeing, but not fighting it either. Tom softened just a little. 2 weeks, that's it, you get through this and we'll get you that laptop, you start building something for yourself. Jeffrey nodded faintly, okay. Tom gave him one last look, half reassurance, half expectation. See you in 2 weeks, Jeffy. Then he turned and stepped out of the cabin. The door closed. And just like that, Jeffrey was in it, no buffer, no escape. Max leaned back slightly, watching him. So, you gonna stand there all day or you actually gonna try? Jeffrey looked around the cabin, then back at him. Guess I'm here, he said. Not confident, not ready. But he didn't leave. Jeffrey shifted uncomfortably once the door shut behind Tom. Max, no offense, but your brother, I hate him. Max didn't even react much at first. He just grabbed a pair of gloves and set out what he needed on the bed. Yeah, Max said dryly, my brother's an ass. You're not the first person to say that. That took a little of the edge out of the moment. Max stepped closer, calmer than expected. All right, let's get you set up. Jeffrey didn't argue this time. He let Max help him out of the power chair and onto the bed, the movement careful and practiced. I can do more than people think, Jeffrey said quietly, almost like he needed to say it out loud. Max nodded, then show it, nobody here's stopping you. Jeffrey looked at him, a little surprised by the response. Max shrugged, look, I don't care about the drama, you're here same as everyone else, you do your part, we're good. Jeffrey exhaled, tension still there but shifting. Okay. Max finished getting things set, then stepped back. Good, then we start there. Max sat on the edge of the bed for a second, like he was deciding how much to say. Jeffrey, when our mom passed away, Sam kind of just stepped into everything, he said. Same name, same expectations, people just let it happen. Your Uncle Ben too, he backed him. Nobody really held Sam accountable. Jeffrey blinked, that's crazy. Max gave a small, humorless shrug. Yeah, it is. A pause. Jeffrey shook his head, so he just does whatever he wants. Max nodded, pretty much. When nobody checks you for a long time, you start thinking you're always right. Jeffrey let out a breath, that explains a lot. Max glanced over at him, doesn't make it okay though. Jeffrey looked down at his hands. No, it just means he does crazy stuff because no one ever stopped him. Max stood back up. Exactly, so don't expect fairness from him, just focus on what you can control while you're here. Jeffrey nodded slowly. Yeah, he said, I guess that's all I got right now. Max gave a short nod, then start there. Max leaned forward slightly, lowering his voice. Sam knows some very wealthy people, he said. Don't worry about your dad and that woman they came by a few days ago, something about, Jeffrey cut in immediately, a group home. Max paused, yeah, but how do you know that? Jeffrey's jaw tightened. That woman, that's my grandma Pat, she tried this before and my dad tried to make a deal the first time too. God. Max frowned, so you think they're trying again? Jeffrey didn't hesitate, I don't think that, I know that. A beat of silence settled between them. Max looked more serious now. If that's true, then Sam's not just trying to control the camp stuff, he's using all of it. Jeffrey nodded slowly, eyes tense. Yeah, that's what it feels like. Max exhaled. Then we need to be careful how we move, because if he's tied into people like that, this isn't just camp drama anymore. Jeffrey looked down for a second, then back up. So what do we do? Max met his eyes. First, we get through these 2 weeks, then we figure out what's actually legal, what's pressure, and what's just Sam running his mouth. Jeffrey didn't look convinced, but he did look focused. Okay, he said quietly, but I'm not letting this get decided without me this time. Max gave a small nod. Good, don't. Sam's phone buzzed in his hand as he sat in his power chair, the screen lighting up with Pat's name. He answered immediately. Jeffrey is here, Sam said without preamble. There was a short pause on the other end. I just sent you the payment, Pat replied. A faint shift crossed Sam's expression, barely satisfaction, barely relief. Good, Sam said. Another pause. Then calmer but still cold, he's at Camp Toby, everything is in place like we discussed. Pat's voice stayed controlled, make sure it stays that way. Sam ended the call without another word and set the phone down on his armrest. He sat there for a moment, wheels still, eyes forward. Everything was moving the way he wanted it to. At least for now. Sam's voice crackled over the loudspeaker across Camp Toby. Staff, campers, Jeffrey Smith family has decided to combine the group home and Camp Toby into one program. A few people in the background murmured, confused. Sam continued, calm and controlled. Max, Jeffrey, please come to the main office, thank you. The speaker clicked off. In cabin 2A, Jeffrey looked up immediately. What? Max frowned, he didn't mention that to me. Jeffrey pushed himself up a little tense, that doesn't even make sense, combine them. Max's expression tightened. This is not normal camp procedure. Jeffrey's voice lowered, so it is happening. Max nodded slowly, yeah, but not like this. This is a decision being pushed through, not something agreed properly. Jeffrey looked toward the door, we should go. Max stood up, yeah, but stay sharp. They headed toward the main office, the camp suddenly feeling different, less like structure, more like something being rearranged without warning. Inside the office, Sam was already waiting in his power chair, hands resting calmly on the armrests like nothing was unusual at all. He looked up as they entered. Good, Sam said, you're here. Jeffrey didn't sit, what do you mean combine them? Sam leaned back slightly. Exactly what I said, efficiency, one system, fewer gaps in supervision, fewer outside complications. Max crossed his arms, that's not how either program works. Sam's gaze shifted to him briefly, it does now. Jeffrey's voice tightened, did anyone agree to this besides you? A pause. Sam didn't answer immediately. Which said enough. The room went still. Sam's tone stayed flat, like he was reading from a document. Your grandmother did as well, he said. Both boards agreed, and your grandmother will be here so we can make it official. The word official landed heavy in the room. Jeffrey's expression shifted immediately, my grandmother, Pat. Max frowned, that's not how board approvals work, you don't just. Sam cut him off, it's already been approved. Jeffrey stepped forward slightly, she doesn't speak for me. Sam finally looked directly at him. She does in legal matters tied to your care structure. That made Max stiffen. Care structure, you're mixing jurisdictions and roles now. Sam didn't react to the pushback. This is streamlined now. Camp Toby and the group home are under one coordinated program. Jeffrey's voice rose slightly, without asking me. A pause. Sam's answer was simple, you are here. Max stepped in firmer now, being here doesn't mean consent. Sam's eyes narrowed just a fraction. it means the decision is already in motion. Silence fell again, heavier than before. Jeffrey looked between them, voice lower now but tense. So what happens to me after this? Sam didn't hesitate this time. You stay where you are under the new structure. Max exhaled sharply. This is getting out of control. Sam's expression didn't change. It's already controlled. And for the first time, it felt like the conversation wasn't about agreement anymore. It was about something already being enforced. Sam didn't look away from Jeffrey. Jeffrey, you never had control, he said flatly. Pat's voice came through, calm, almost detached. Not even your dad had control. That hit the room in a different way than before. Jeffrey's jaw tightened. What does that even mean? Max stepped forward slightly. It means you're being talked about like you're not in the room. Sam's expression stayed composed. It means decisions about structure, placement, and supervision have always been handled by adults with authority. Jeffrey's voice rose a little. I am an adult. A pause. Pat responded evenly. Legally, yes, functionally, that hasn't always been the case. Max frowned. That's not a reason to remove someone, say, in their own life. Sam leaned back slightly in his chair. It's a reason to ensure stability when things are volatile. Jeffrey looked between them, frustrated and hurt. So I don't get a voice because I've struggled before. No one answered immediately. That silence said more than any sentence did. Max finally spoke, quieter but firm. Structure doesn't mean silence, it shouldn't. Sam's eyes shifted slightly toward him. It means boundaries. Jeffrey exhaled sharply, staring at the floor for a moment. Then quietly, it just feels like I'm always being managed, never heard. For once, even Sam didn't respond right away. Pat kept her tone steady, almost clinical. Jeffrey, you have control over your life, she said, but not over my company. Max's expression changed instantly. This is inhumane. Sam didn't even look bothered. He tilted his head slightly. Oh, bro. Max frowned. What? Sam's voice sharpened. You're fired. Max blinked. I thought you kept me here because we're family. Sam shrugged slightly. First time was family, second time you interrupted us. Max shook his head. That's not three. Sam's expression turned colder. I don't like your attitude and I don't like your fat ass. Go lose some weight, that's three, now go home. The room went silent. Max stood there for a moment, processing it, then let out a short breath through his nose, more disbelief than anger. So that's it, he said quietly. Sam didn't respond. Pat didn't either. Max looked at Jeffrey briefly, like he was deciding whether to say more, but then just shook his head. Yeah, all right, he muttered, I get it. And he turned and walked out. Jeffrey's voice cut through the tension, sharper now. Why does the group home mean so much to you? He asked, looking straight at Pat. You paid this guy for what, Grandma? Pat didn't flinch. She adjusted her posture slightly, calm and controlled. Money means a lot more than you think, she said. Jeffrey frowned. That's not an answer. Sam stayed quiet beside her, watching, letting her speak. Pat continued evenly. It means structure, it means influence, it means making sure things don't fall apart when they shouldn't. Jeffrey shook his head. So I'm just part of that. No, Pat said, you're the reason decisions get made carefully. Jeffrey let out a breath, frustrated. It doesn't feel careful, it feels like I'm being moved around. Pat's tone softened slightly but stayed firm. Sometimes what feels like movement is actually protection. Jeffrey looked between her and Sam. Protection from what? A pause settled. Pat answered carefully, from chaos, from situations that spiral. Jeffrey's voice dropped, or from me having control. That line hung in the air. Sam finally spoke, quiet but direct. Control isn't the same thing as safety. Jeffrey didn't respond right away. He just looked down, processing it, still unsettled, still not convinced, but hearing more than he wanted to. Pat's voice stayed flat, final. Live in the group home or the streets. Jeffrey didn't hesitate long, but the words still hurt. The group home, he said quietly. Pat nodded once, then go back to camp with your buddy Aaron while me and Sam continue working. Sam gave a short glance toward her, then back to Jeffrey. You're dismissed. The word landed heavier than everything before it. Jeffrey looked up slightly, dismissed like I'm not even part of this. Pat's tone didn't change, like this meeting is over for you. A pause. Jeffrey's hands tightened. So all of this my life where I go, what happens to me it's just decided and I'm told after. Sam leaned back in his chair. That's how structure works when there's instability. Jeffrey shook his head slowly, processing it. It just feels like I don't get to exist in my own decisions. Pat answered calmly, you exist, you just don't control the system around you. Silence filled the room again. Jeffrey looked down for a moment, then finally turned toward the door. Okay, he said quietly. And he left not because he agreed, but because the conversation was already over. Aaron shifted uncomfortably, watching Jeffrey as they walked. Sorry he keeps changing buddies on you, Aaron said quietly, that's not really fair. Jeffrey let out a tense breath, eyes forward. That's not my issue, he said, my grandma she's working with the devil, aka Sam. Aaron frowned, hey don't say that. Jeffrey shook his head, you don't see it, everything keeps getting decided without me, people talking like I'm not even there. Aaron slowed a bit, choosing his words carefully. I think you're overwhelmed right now, a lot just happened. Jeffrey's voice stayed low but firm. No, I think I'm finally seeing it clearly. Aaron glanced at him, worried. Even if you feel like that, saying stuff like that is going to make everything worse. Jeffrey didn't answer right away. After a moment, he exhaled and looked away. I just want things to stop moving around me without me. Aaron nodded slowly. Then focus on what you can actually control right now, like getting through camp, one step at a time. Jeffrey didn't respond, but he didn't argue either. They kept walking toward the cabins in silence, the noise of everything else still echoing behind them, but slightly further away with each step. Tom stepped away from the noise of the house and made the call. Mom, is it done? He asked. Pat didn't hesitate. Yes, it's handled. Tom exhaled, tension easing just a little. Good. Pat continued, more pointed now. Pick Jeffrey up tomorrow, he's disrupting the environment. Tom frowned, he's there for 2 weeks, that was the deal. A pause. Then Tom added more bluntly, Dea Linda. Josh and I are leaving for vacation, so if there's an issue you'll have to deal with Jeffrey. That landed. Pat's tone sharpened slightly, you're leaving him there and stepping away. Tom didn't back down, he needs to go through it, we already agreed. Another pause, longer this time. Pat finally replied, controlled but not pleased, fine, then I'll handle it. Tom nodded to himself, that's all I'm asking. He ended the call. For a moment he just stood there, caught between relief and something that didn't sit quite right. Jeffrey rolled a little slower beside Aaron, his voice tight with everything he'd been holding in. Aaron, you don't understand, he said. Since I met Sam, it's been nothing but problems for me and my family, calling APS trying to get me away from them at all costs. Aaron shook his head, uneasy. I think you're reading into it wrong. Jeffrey stopped his chair slightly, turning toward him. No, I'm not. Aaron hesitated. I don't see it the way you do. Jeffrey's voice dropped, more controlled now but still intense. That's because you're not the one it's happening to. A quiet pause. Aaron shifted his weight. Maybe, but if you go around saying all that, people aren't going to listen, they're going to think you're just upset. Jeffrey let out a slow breath. I am upset, that doesn't mean I'm wrong. Aaron looked at him, trying to find the balance. Then prove it differently, stay calm, show them you can handle this. Jeffrey looked ahead again, hands resting on his wheels. That's what everyone keeps saying, he muttered. Aaron nodded slightly. Because right now that's the only thing you can control. Jeffrey didn't argue this time. He just started moving again, forward, even if everything else still felt like it was pushing back. Jeffrey slowed his chair and looked over at Aaron, frustration finally breaking through. Aaron, can you call my dad, please? This doesn't make any sense. Aaron hesitated. You really want to do that right now? Yes, Jeffrey said firmly. I need to hear it from him, not Sam, not my grandma, him. Aaron nodded and pulled out his phone. All right. He dialed Tom and waited. After a moment he handed the phone over. It's ringing. Jeffrey took it, gripping it a little tighter than usual. Dad, he said as soon as the call connected. What's going on? None of this makes sense. Tom's voice came through, steady but distant. Jeffy, calm down, what part doesn't make sense? All of it, Jeffrey shot back. The camp, the group home, Grandma paying Sam, why didn't you tell me? A pause on the line. Tom exhaled because you needed to focus on getting through this, not everything happening behind the scenes. Jeffrey shook his head even though Tom couldn't see it. So you just let them decide everything for me? No, Tom said, we're trying to stabilize things. Jeffrey's voice tightened. It feels like I'm being controlled. Tom softened slightly. I know it feels that way, but right now we're trying to keep things from getting worse. Jeffrey looked down. Are you coming to get me? Another pause. No, Tom said, you're staying, finish the 2 weeks. That hit hard. Jeffrey swallowed, so I just deal with it. Tom answered quieter, for now yeah, and we'll talk when it's done. Silence. Jeffrey finally handed the phone back to Aaron, his expression shut down again. Okay, he said barely above a whisper. Aaron looked at him carefully. You all right? Jeffrey didn't answer right away. Then quietly, no, but I guess I don't get a choice. Jeffrey grabbed the phone back, voice sharper now, emotion pushing through. Dad, Sam is messed up. Grandma is teaming up with him. You need to talk to your mother. There was a pause on the other end. Tom exhaled slowly. Jeffy, I've already talked to her. Jeffrey's grip tightened. Then you know this isn't right. I know it's complicated, Tom said carefully. It's not complicated, Jeffrey shot back. It's wrong. Another pause, longer this time. Tom's voice lowered. I hear you. Jeffrey shook his head. No, you're not hearing me. They're making decisions about my life without me. You're just letting it happen. Tom didn't snap back. I'm trying to keep everything from blowing up. Jeffrey's voice cracked slightly. It already is. Silence. Aaron stayed quiet beside him, watching. Jeffrey pushed again, more desperate now. Just talk to her again, please, not as her son, as my dad. That landed. Tom didn't respond right away. I'll call her, he said finally. Jeffrey closed his eyes briefly. Thank you. Tom added softer, you still need to finish this out, Jeffy, but I'll talk to her. Jeffrey didn't argue this time. Okay, he said quietly. He handed the phone back to Aaron, shoulders tense, but at least now something might shift. Tom didn't waste time when she answered. Mom, you're hurting your own grandson, he said. Pat's voice stayed level, almost detached. Loving Jeffrey isn't what keeps the doors open, paying bills does, money is what keeps everything running. Tom's jaw tightened. He's not a line item, he's your grandson. And he's also part of a system that has to function, Pat replied. Staff, programs, liability, none of that runs on emotion. Tom stepped away from the room, lowering his voice. You're pushing him into something he doesn't understand, you're making deals around him. Pat didn't deny it, because someone has to make decisions when he can't hold them together. Tom pushed back, or because it's easier to control it than include him. A pause. Pat's tone sharpened slightly. You think stepping back and leaving him there is better. That hit. Tom didn't answer right away. He's overwhelmed, Tom said finally, and instead of helping him through it, you're tightening everything around him. Pat responded calmly, I'm keeping things from collapsing, you're trying to keep him comfortable. Tom shook his head, no, I'm trying to keep him human in this. Silence. Then Pat, quieter but still firm, then help him learn to function within reality, because reality doesn't bend for him. Tom exhaled slowly. Reality also doesn't require stripping someone of their voice. Another pause. Pat didn't respond immediately this time. Tom added, more controlled, we need to find a middle ground, because right now he feels like he has none. The line stayed quiet for a moment longer, like even Pat didn't have a clean answer ready. Pat's voice came back colder, more final. Then you and Jeffrey need to find a new group home if you don't like how I run mine. Tom went still for a second. That's your answer, he asked. Yes, Pat said, I'm not changing how I run my company because he's uncomfortable. Tom's tone tightened. He's not just uncomfortable, he feels like he has no say in his own life. Pat didn't bend, then he needs to build a life where he does have say. That doesn't happen inside my structure. A pause. Tom exhaled slowly, so you're basically telling him fit in or leave. I'm telling you both, Pat replied, that I won't run something unsustainably just to make it feel better. Tom looked down, conflicted now in a different way. All right, he said finally, then we'll figure something else out. Pat didn't respond right away. Then simply you should. The call ended. Tom stood there for a moment, the situation shifting again, not solved, just redirected. Because now it wasn't about adjusting to Pat's system anymore. It was about whether they stayed in it at all. Aaron held the phone out on speaker so Jeffrey could hear clearly. Jeffrey didn't waste time, so what happened? Tom's voice came through, more serious now. She basically said, if you don't like how she runs her group home, then we need to find you a new one. Silence. Jeffrey blinked, wait, what? She's not changing anything, Tom continued. So the option is stay and deal with it or we find somewhere else. Jeffrey's hands tightened on his wheels, so I actually have a choice now. Tom paused, yeah, you do. Aaron glanced at Jeffrey, a little surprised too. Jeffrey let out a breath trying to process it, then why did it feel like I had none 5 minutes ago? Tom didn't dodge it this time, because things were already moving and we didn't slow down enough to include you. A beat. Jeffrey looked down, I don't want to go back there if it's like this. Tom nodded even though he couldn't see him, then we look at other options, real ones together. Aaron spoke up quietly, that sounds more fair. Jeffrey gave a small nod, yeah. Tom added, steadier now, first, you finish camp, then we figure out what's next with you in the conversation. Jeffrey didn't fully like that part, but it was different now. Okay, he said. Not resolved. But no longer completely out of his hands. Jeffrey held the phone a little closer, his voice quieter now. Dad, I was just trying to help the others that live there. I knew I was going to be okay. They can't do things like I can, so I thought she'd understand it from our side. There was a pause. Tom's voice softened, so you were advocating for them. Jeffrey nodded even though he couldn't see him. Yeah, I just wanted to let you know. Tom exhaled slowly. I get that, and that matters, Jeffy. Looking out for other people, that's not a bad thing. Jeffrey stayed quiet. But, Tom added, sometimes when you push like that, especially in a system like hers, it creates pushback. Not because you're wrong, but because you're challenging how things are run. Jeffrey frowned slightly, so I shouldn't have said anything. No, Tom said, I didn't say that. I'm saying you need to be smart about how you do it, so you don't get shut out before anything can change. Aaron nodded a little at that. Jeffrey looked down at his hands, I just didn't want them stuck. Tom's voice stayed steady, and that tells me a lot about who you are. A small pause. But right now, Tom continued, you focus on getting through camp, then we figure out next steps, and if you still want to help others, we do it in a way that actually works. Jeffrey took that in. Okay, he said quietly. Not defeated, just thinking differently now. The loudspeaker cracked on again, louder than before, too loud. Sam's voice filled the camp. New rule, anybody who talks with Jeffrey will be sent home early. A ripple of confusion and whispers spread instantly. Second, only for Jeffrey you may speak with your assigned buddy only, and your new bedtime is 8:00 p.m. Everyone else remains at 9:30. That will be all. The speaker clicked off. Silence. Then murmurs. Aaron froze, that's not normal. Jeffrey didn't move, his face went still in a way that said more than if he'd shouted. He just isolated me, he said quietly. Aaron nodded, yeah, that's exactly what that is. A couple campers nearby glanced over, then quickly looked away, already unsure if they were even allowed to be seen near him. Jeffrey's hands tightened on his wheels, so now if anyone talks to me they get punished. Aaron exhaled, that's not okay. Jeffrey shook his head slowly, and earlier they said this was about structure. A beat. Aaron looked at him carefully, what do you want to do? Jeffrey didn't answer right away. Then quieter but more certain, I'm not breaking rules and getting people in trouble. Another pause. But I'm also not pretending this is normal. Aaron nodded, then we document it, stay calm, don't give him a reason to escalate more. Jeffrey looked at him, you're still going to talk to me. Aaron gave a small, firm nod, I'm your assigned buddy, that's within his own rule. For the first time since the announcement, Jeffrey let out a breath. Okay. Not okay with the situation. But not completely alone in it either. A wave of whispers spread across the camp after the announcement. "That's not fair," one camper said under their breath. Another shook their head, "Yeah, singling him out like that." Aaron glanced around, then back at Jeffrey. "People see it." One of the other buddies spoke up quietly, careful but clearly bothered. "Your grandma, if she's involved now, she can't be okay with this. There's no way." Jeffrey gave a small, tired shake of his head. "You don't know her." The camper hesitated. "Still, this feels wrong." Aaron nodded. "It is." A few campers shifted, unsure whether to keep talking or back off because of the rule. You could see it, people wanting to say something but weighing the risk. Jeffrey noticed it too. "That's the point," he said quietly. "He wants everyone to stop talking." Silence settled again, heavier this time, not because people didn't care but because they weren't sure what they were allowed to do. Aaron stayed beside him. "You're not crazy for thinking this is messed up." Jeffrey looked ahead, jaw tight. "I know." And around them the camp kept moving, but different now, more cautious, more divided. Sam didn't even use the loudspeaker this time. He rolled forward into the open area, eyes scanning the group until they landed on two campers. "You too," he said, pointing. "You were talking to him." The boys froze. "Campers Jeff and Buddy Doug," Sam continued coldly. "Time for you guys to go home." A ripple of shock went through everyone nearby. Doug stepped forward slightly. "We were just—" "I don't care," Sam cut in. Rule was clear. Jeff looked around, confused. "That's not fair." Sam turned his chair slightly, voice louder now so everyone could hear. "I'm not joking." Silence dropped instantly. No one moved. No one spoke. You could feel it, fear replacing the earlier whispers. Aaron's jaw tightened. "He's actually doing it." Jeffrey didn't say anything right away. He just watched as Jeff and Doug were pulled aside, their confusion turning into quiet frustration. "This is what he wanted," Jeffrey said under his breath. Aaron nodded. "Yeah." Around them, the rest of the campers looked away, not because they didn't care, but because now they knew the cost of showing it. And just like that, the rule wasn't just words anymore. It was real. Sam looked around at everyone, making sure he had their full attention. "Did I make myself clear?" he asked. There was a beat, then almost in unison. "Yes, Camp Director Sam." The response felt forced, hollow. Sam gave a short nod. "Good, go to your next activity." He turned his chair and rolled away like nothing unusual had just happened. No one moved at first. Then slowly people started to break off, quiet, careful, not making eye contact. Aaron leaned in slightly toward Jeffrey. "This just got a lot worse." Jeffrey stared ahead, voice low. "Yeah, now it's real." A few campers glanced back at him, but quickly looked away again, not wanting to risk it. The energy of the whole place had changed. Less like camp. More like control. Jeffrey exhaled slowly. He didn't just set a rule, he made an example. Aaron nodded, "And now everyone's scared to even stand near you." Jeffrey didn't respond. He just sat there for a second longer, then started moving toward the next activity, because right now there wasn't much else he could do. Except play it smart. Pat's voice came through calmly. "How was that?" Sam didn't hesitate. Jeffrey, look, he was about to crack. A pause. Pat replied measured. "Explain." Sam leaned back slightly in his power chair, watching the camp settle after the announcement. "He's escalating. Emotionally, socially, he's pulling people into conflict. If I don't set hard boundaries, the whole structure gets unstable." Pat didn't sound fully convinced. "So your solution is isolation." "It's containment," Sam corrected. "Temporary until behavior stabilizes." Another pause. Pat's tone stayed even but sharper underneath. "Be careful that containment doesn't turn into punishment." Sam glanced down at his hands. "It's not personal." Pat replied quietly, "It never starts out that way." That lingered for a moment. Sam straightened a little. "He'll adjust, or he'll escalate. Either way, I'm keeping control of the environment." Pat didn't answer immediately. "Then, just don't lose sight of what you're trying to fix." The line went quiet after that. Sam's tone stayed flat, almost clinical. "He will apologize to us," Sam said. "He will break down. He is not in control of my camp or your group home." There was a pause on the line. Pat responded carefully. Sam, be mindful of how you're interpreting his reactions. Sam didn't budge. I'm observing patterns. He escalates, pulls people in, then collapses when boundaries are enforced. Pat's voice lowered slightly, or he's overwhelmed and reacting under pressure. Another pause. Sam exhaled through his nose. Either way, the structure holds. Pat replied, structure is not the same as escalation control. Sam glanced out toward the camp. If he apologizes, it confirms he understands limits. Pat didn't immediately agree. Instead, she said, just make sure you're not creating the breakdown you're expecting. A beat of silence. Sam's voice stayed steady. I'm not creating it, I'm managing it. The call ended shortly after. And Sam stayed where he was for a moment longer, watching the camp, waiting to see which version of events would happen next. 2 weeks passed at Camp Toby. Jeffrey kept to the rules Sam set, mostly silent, mostly withdrawn. The only real conversations he had were with Aaron. Everything else stayed distant, controlled, careful. Sam noticed, and he didn't like it. On the final day, the camp felt different again, like everyone knew something was ending. Tom arrived to pick Jeffrey up. The car pulled in slowly, gravel crunching under the tires. He got out, walked toward the entrance, and nodded briefly to staff before heading inside. Jeffrey was already waiting near the exit, sitting in his power chair with his bag ready. No crowd, no speech. Just silence. Tom stepped closer. Hey, Jeffy. Jeffrey looked up. Hey. A long pause followed, nothing dramatic, just heavy. Tom checked with staff, signed the final forms, and then looked back at his son. You ready to go home? He asked. Jeffrey didn't answer immediately. Then he nodded once. Yeah. Tom helped load everything into the car. No extra words, no confrontation, just movement. Jeffrey transferred in, settled into the seat, and looked forward. As Tom got behind the wheel, Camp Toby started to shrink in the rearview mirror. For the first time in weeks, no rules were being announced. No loudspeakers. No decisions being made over him. Just distance growing between Jeffrey and that place. And silence that finally didn't feel controlled, it just felt like going home. Jeffrey stared out the window as the car moved, his voice low but steady. Never again, for real this time. Tom glanced over. That bad? Jeffrey nodded. Grandma and Sam, they told everyone not to talk to me until I agreed I'd stay at the group home and camp without issues. Tom's grip tightened slightly on the wheel. That's not okay. Jeffrey kept going like he needed it all out, so I said I would, just to make it stop. A pause settled in the car. Tom exhaled. Your mom and I are still looking for other options, somewhere you feel more in control. Jeffrey didn't look at him. Keep looking. Tom nodded once. We will. The car kept moving forward. And for the first time in a long stretch of time, Jeffrey didn't argue, didn't push back. He just watched the road ahead, letting the distance grow between him and everything that had just happened. Pat spoke evenly, like she was concluding a decision rather than debating it. Jeffrey will understand if he starts a business of his own. Sam nodded once, agreed. There was no enthusiasm in it, just agreement between two people who saw it as a practical outcome rather than a personal one. Pat continued, independence through structure. If he builds something himself, he stops feeling like everything is being done to him. Sam leaned back slightly in his chair, as long as it's supervised enough not to destabilize what's already in place. Pat didn't immediately respond to that framing. Then she said, it gives him direction, that's what matters. A pause. Sam finally replied, then that's the next step if he's willing to engage in it. Pat nodded once, we'll present it to him when things settle. And just like that, they moved on to the next item, treating it like a plan on paper, while somewhere else, Jeffrey was still trying to make sense of everything that had already happened.